Welcome, Thrive Church. We are so happy that you are here with us today. My name is Judah, and I'm pastor here at Thrive, and we welcome you to all of our campuses, to our those who are in our senior centers, those watching on TV. We are so glad to have you here, and we are in a series called the 90s. The 90s. Now, some of you might have grown up in the 90s. Some of you were alive in the 90s. Some of you, the 90s is just all history to you. Maybe you weren't around there. For me, it was a time that I grew up in, and we're not just talking about an era, though. We're talking about Psalms 90s. The 90s, Psalms has 150 chapters, but we're focusing on those in the 90s there. And last week we talked about Psalm 92. This week we're jumping back a little bit to Psalm 90. Have you ever had a moment in life where time just kind of hits you, like the recognition of time, not like you're checking a clock kind of a thing, but something deeper than that? You ever look at life and think, how did I get here so fast? Yeah, where did the years go? I thought I had more time. We get these feelings, especially as we get older, and it's kind of strange, isn't it? That when you're young, time feels very slow, especially when you're waiting for something, right? Like Christmas or something. Like time feels slow. The passage of a year feels so slow. Getting out of school feels so slow. And the older you get, it feels like time just accelerates faster and faster and faster and faster. And it's like breakneck speed. And before you know it, not just a year is gone, but a decade is gone. And then another decade is gone. Somewhere along the way, we begin to realize that life isn't as long as you once assumed that it would be. And the realization can do one of two things. It can either make you anxious about that, or it can make you wise. Psalm 90 is not trying to scare us. What it's trying to do is it's trying to wake us up to the things that really matter. Most of the Psalms are written by kings and musicians and worship leaders. In fact, Psalms is broken down into 5 different books, and it's written by a variety of different authors. But this one is particularly different because it was written by a man who spent 40 years watching people die. By a man who stood at the edge of the promised land and never got to go in it. It was written by a man who saw miracles that most of us can't even imagine. And he saw an entire generation of people die in the wilderness. The psalm was written by none other than Moses. This is considered the oldest of all of the psalms, even though it's not the first one. It's the oldest, and it's the only one that we know was written by Moses. And when we understand this, then Psalms 90 hits a little bit different. Because this isn't written from somebody writing from a place of comfort. This is not writing poetry in a palace. This is literally perspective from the middle of a desert. Moses had the opportunity to watch God's people leave out of slavery in Egypt, full of hope, only to wander in circles year after year after year in the wilderness. And one by one, their time ran out. Scripture says everyone over the age of 20 ended up dying in the wilderness. This was a time where funerals just became normal. Graves were familiar. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, Moses starts writing this prayer. And it's in Psalm chapter 90, verse 1. It says, a prayer of Moses, the man of God. Lord, through all generations, you have been our home. I think that's an interesting line to start with, isn't it? Especially for these people who are wandering in the wilderness. They had come out of slavery, which wasn't really their home, and now they're wandering in wilderness, which isn't also their home. And he's saying, Lord, you have been our home. They say home is where your heart is, right? It says, you have been our home. Before the mountains were born, before you gave birth to the earth and the world, From beginning to end, you are God. Going through this wilderness time, it's interesting that the first thing that Moses writes about, it's not about the people, he's writing about God, saying that you are our home. Because see, when you have watched life come and go like Moses did, when you see how fragile life can really be, you realize something that most people spend their life avoiding, that life is shorter than we think. So what makes this psalm so powerful? See, Moses doesn't write it to make people feel afraid. He's writing it to make people feel aware. He wants them to know that time is limited. The time that we have here is limited. That we need to make the most of every opportunity. In your notes, life is fragile, but God is eternal. That even though our life is fragile, that even though our life is temporary, that God is eternal, that God is our home. He says, before the mountains were born, before you gave birth to the earth and the world, you are God. He's acknowledging the greatness of God, even in difficult times, even in dry wilderness times. Many of us are going through difficulties in life, going through dry times in life, and it's important for us to know where our true home is, who our true God is. It's easy to think that the country we live in is our home, but this is not our home. God is our home. And if you understand this tension that Moses was facing, if you understand this tension about how life is fragile, then you have one of two options, right? You can either live carelessly, right? Like that expression that came out, I don't know, a couple decades ago, YOLO, right? Which basically, like somebody would do something stupid and be like, YOLO, like you only live once. Like, yeah, well, you only die once too, And so they do these crazy things. So when you realize the tension, how fragile life is, you can live carelessly or you can live anxiously. But if you do understand it fully, you can learn instead to live wisely. See, God is eternal, and we aren't. See, before Moses says anything about life, before he says anything about the struggles that people are going through, he starts it off with God. Before time began, God was. And after time ends, God will still be. See, God is not contained inside of time. This is hard for our minds to comprehend. However, if we could fully comprehend God, he wouldn't be a very big and powerful God, would he? See, God is not inside of time, but time is in God's reality. God is separate from that. It says in Isaiah 40, verse 28, it says, have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all of the earth. He never grows weak or weary. Isn't it good to know that we serve a God who doesn't grow weak and weary? He doesn't even grow weak and weary with your complaining, with the things that you're going through. It's like how there's some people and we get weak and weary with them sometimes. God doesn't get that way. He never grows weak and weary. It says no one can measure the depths of his understanding. That he understands the situations of your life. He understands what you're going through, the struggles that you face, the difficulties that you're encountering. Have you ever heard this? That the Lord is everlasting, the creator of all. And see, we live moment to moment to moment. We live second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, week to week, month to month. But God sees it all. God sees the beginning, he sees the middle, and he sees the end, and he sees it all at once. And I don't fully understand how he does it, but he sees it all. He sees the entire story as an author would see the entirety of the story of the book or the movie that they're creating. In your notes, God isn't rushed because God is not limited to time. See, God isn't rushed. God isn't rushed by the things that we're facing. Sometimes we're going through difficulties right now. We're going through hardships, and maybe we're feeling rushed. We're feeling pressure to perform. We're feeling the pressure of time. We're feeling life ticking away. But it's important for us to realize that God is never rushed. He's not limited to the same things that we are limited to. God is never late, and he sees and he intervenes and he provides at just the right time. We often feel anxious when we get left behind. We start feeling behind. We start feeling late for things. You ever been late for something before? Maybe you were late to church today. I don't know. We feel late for things. My wife and I, we went to a party a while back, and we got there late. And by the time we got there, the food was gone. The party was kind of wrapping up. So you get there late, and you feel like you missed something. And we feel like we're being left behind, like time is slipping away from us. And it's not going very fast, but we just feel like it's slipping away. But God is not scrambling to catch up. God is not in panic mode. God is not worried about what tomorrow will bring. God is not reacting to the situations that are going on. God is eternal. God sees the beginning from the end. Our lives, yes, they're brief. Yes, they're fragile, but God is eternal. Our lives are temporary, but his is not. Continuing in Psalm chapter 90, verse 5, says, you sweep people away like dreams that disappear. Isn't that very encouraging? Doesn't that make you feel good? Yeah. You sweep people away like dreams that disappear. They're like grass that springs up in the morning, and in the morning it blooms and flourishes, but by the evening it's dry and withered. Okay, see, we're glad that you came here today. We just want you to feel good about yourself all the time. You know, this is not a very uplifting verse. Like, why you picked this verse? See, but it's because these are the things that we face. He says that life is like this grass that springs up and then it dies. This is not an exaggeration. This is reality, that life is brief. When I was reading this, it kind of reminded me of the mayfly. Perhaps you know about the mayfly. The mayfly has the shortest lifespan of any species out there. They live anywhere from about 5 minutes to about 24 hours. They go up, they mate, and then they die, and then they go back into the food chain when fish get them. Anybody that's ever done any fly fishing, you really appreciate this life cycle, because that's how we catch fish, is on this life cycle. But imagine that. They live their entire life, and it only consists of a few minutes to a few hours. And it's kind of like us, too. Be honest for a second. Raise your hand if you're older than you used to be. Some of you are like, I don't know. Let me think about that. We're all older than we used to be. And it's kind of funny, when we think about that, like myself, I think about it. Sometimes I get stuck in my head like, oh, I'm still a young guy. And then I'm like, I don't know, my body's telling me otherwise now. The calendar's telling me otherwise now. We start to realize that life is catching up with us. And we're all older than we used to be, and we can't go back. And time goes by, and the minutes and days and years go by. What it says in James now, to the New Testament, James chapter 4, verse 14. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, and then it's gone. Again, another encouraging verse, Your life is like a fog. It's just going to be gone. And we know that to be true. None of us has tomorrow guaranteed to us. None of us has the promise of tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow holds. Now, my prayer and hope is that all of you have many, many years ahead, but none of us knows. We don't know, because it's like a fog. It's here one day and then it's gone. But many of us, we don't live like this is true. We live as if we'll have endless tomorrows. Like endless tomorrows. Like each day doesn't really matter that much. It just doesn't really matter. We can just always start later. I can always get right with God later. I can always make things right later. I can always forgive that person later. I can always give generously later. I can always do it later. I'll always have another tomorrow to get my act together. Oh, I can just be whoever I want to be now. I can do the things that I want to do now, and I'll give God the later years of my life. But you don't know what years you even have guaranteed. See, we think that we could always get serious eventually, but the scripture reminds us that life is fragile. In your notes, you may not have as much time as you think, but you have enough time to live well. See, that's the thing. It's not about living long, but it's about living well. We have the time to live well if we make the most of every opportunity. If we make the most of the opportunities that God has given us. And that's what Moses is trying to communicate here. That life is fragile, that we don't know what tomorrow holds, but we do know that we're here today and we can make a difference with the time that we have. In Psalm 90, verse 7, continuing on, it says, we wither beneath your anger. We're overwhelmed by your fury. Okay, this is just really getting good now. You thought it was bad before. You spread out our sins before you, our secret sins, and you see them all. Again, such encouraging verses here. But see, Moses isn't just saying that life is short. You know what he's saying? Life is short because something is broken. There's something that's broken. The thing that's broken is sin. Sin is what separates us from God. And we feel this tension. We feel this tension with time because we were made for eternity. We were made to live forever with God in eternity, but we live in this broken world. And that's why death feels wrong. And that's why loss feels so unnatural. This is why time feels short. And your frustration with time, it begins to show. And we begin to realize, hopefully, at some point in your notes, that you were made for more than this life. That you were made for more than just the minutes and the seconds. You were made for more than just trading hours on a clock for money at work. You were made for more than just that. You were made to make a difference. You were made for more than this life. You were made not even just to make a difference here, but to make a difference for eternity. And here, the psalmist Moses continues in verse 12, and I love this. This is, so teach us to number our days. Underline that. So teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom. You ever number days? You know, kids love to do this, right? They number the days to their birthday. They number the days till to Christmas. Some of you're numbering the days until you get out of school or until you graduate, right? Some of you're numbering days until your vacation, right? Some of you're numbering your days until college starts. Some of you parents, you're numbering your days until the kids move out, you know? We're numbering these days, but this is saying number the days of our life, though. You know, the average person is going to get around 29,200 of them. 29,200 if you live to be 80 years old. I look at my life, that means if I'm going to number my days, I have around 12,000 left. What am I going to do with them? Am I going to use them for myself? Am I going to use them for meaningless things? Or am I going to use them to make a difference? Now, this isn't saying count your days and be afraid, be terrified, go hide, just hide out, just don't do anything. No, this is encouraging us to number our days so that we can get a heart of what? Of wisdom, so that we can be wise. In your notes, this is live with the awareness that your life matters to God. See, your life matters to God. Moses' life matters to God. But it's important for us to live our life in a way that we are aware of God's presence, that we're aware that it matters. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15, it kind of says the same thing a different way. He says, so be careful how you live. Are we careful how we live? Or do we just live life recklessly? He says, so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools. I won't ask you to raise your hand on that one, okay? I'll ask you to point it at somebody. No, yeah, do you know anybody that lives their life like a fool? No, don't live your lives like fools, but live like those who are wise. Again, emphasizing wisdom here. Don't live like fools, but live like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Make the most of every opportunity. Are you making the most of the opportunities that you have? Are you making the most of opportunities with friends and family? Are you making the most of the opportunities with somebody who's far from God, with somebody who needs a hand, who needs a prayer? To make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. This is about wisdom, not about information. It's not just about counting the days so you know how many you have left. This is about having wisdom so that we can be in alignment with God. In your notes, wisdom is living today in light of eternity. How does today affect the rest of my life? How does today affect eternity for myself or for others? See, when you understand that your life is limited, then you stop wasting time on things that don't really matter. You stop delaying the things that do matter, and you start living with intention. See, imagine if you did know the exact amount of days that you had left. Would it change how you lived your life? If you knew you had 20,000, 10,000, 1,000, 5, would it change the way that you lived your life? See, not only are we talking about time here, though, because some of us, we're older and we're like, yeah, but I have a lot of time that I've wasted. See, here's the good news that God can also redeem the time. He goes on to say in verse 14, Psalm 90, says, satisfy us each morning with your unfailing love, so that we may sing for joy to the end of our lives. So satisfy us so that I can sing for joy, that I can be grateful and thankful for the rest of my life. It says, give us gladness. Look at this. Give us gladness in proportion to our former misery. Some of you are like, wow, I should be getting a lot of gladness then, because I've been through some miserable things in life. That's his prayer. He says, give us gladness. I mean, think about where he is. They're in the desert. He's watching people drop like flies. He's like, give us gladness in proportion to the misery and replace the evil years with good. See, Moses is asking, God, will you restore the thing that feels like it's lost? Would you bring purpose into the thing that feels painful in my life? The situation I want to forget about, the shame I wish could just stay in the past. Will you bring purpose? Will you bring meaning into that? Say, make the most of every opportunity. You ever find yourself wasting time? Wasting time, I mean, like we all do, right? I mean, they've come up with a new term for it, right? Doom scrolling, where you just get online, just scrolling mindlessly. We're wasting time. We're wasting time on all kinds of things. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was going to go and buy some exercise equipment. And so I found this thing that I wanted to buy. And so I had to recruit some help to do it because, as you can tell, I can't do much here. I can only lift a pound with this sand. So it actually works nice because then I get somebody else to do all the heavy lifting for me. So me and my son and Lenny, we get in the car. We drive about an hour to this place, and I'm going to buy this stuff. We go in there. We start taking everything apart. We load up all this equipment into the truck. We're almost ready to go, and then I realized something, that it was missing a couple parts, and that one part was broken. And I'm like, oh man. So I talked to the guy about it. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. And I said, you know what? I hate to do this, but I can't buy it. So we had to unload everything, put it back inside of his house, get in the car, drive an hour back, and at the end, I'm like, we just wasted half of the day for absolutely. You ever have something like that where you're just like, man, I just wasted so much time. Wasted so much. I wish I could have prevented myself from wasting that time. You know, and that's what Moses is challenging us. He's saying that we need to make the most of every opportunity. We need to number our days because we don't know what happens next. We don't know how many days we have left. See, in your notes, God does not just give you time, though. He redeems the time that you thought you lost. He redeems the time that you thought you lost. He redeems it. So in that situation, we had great conversations. We had great times, and I like to think that maybe we redeemed the time just a little bit, but God will redeem the years that you have lost. He will redeem the times that you spent living for yourself, and he'll use it for your glory and your honor if you put your eyes on him, if you live your life anchored to him. And some of you may carry regret. Some of you may carry these years that have been wasted. Maybe you're carrying this burden of opportunities that you've missed. Maybe there's this nagging feeling of these decisions that you wish that you could undo, but God specializes in restoration. God specializes in redemption. God specializes in renewal. Continuing in verse 17, it says, and may the Lord our God show us his approval and make our efforts successful. Okay, now we're getting to the encouraging part. Great. Make our efforts successful. Yes, make our efforts successful. Anybody would like your efforts to be successful? Okay, like a quarter of you. The rest of you are lying. We want, no, I just really want everything I do to fail. No, we want our efforts to be successful, right? Moses didn't ask for more time or easier circumstances. He asked for God to make his life count, to make the things that he did successful. And in your notes, a life that is surrendered to God is never wasted. If your life is surrendered to him, it's never wasted. You may not feel like you had the biggest impact in life, but if your life is surrendered to him, it makes a difference. See, you don't control how long you live, but you do influence how you live and how you give. Do you give generously? Do you serve enthusiastically? Are you letting your light shine in a dark world? You can't control every circumstance, but you can surrender every moment to him. And yes, your life may be short, but in the hands of an eternal God, it can be significant. Your life can be purposeful. Your life can have meaning. Your life can make an eternal impact in the life of someone else. My time here on earth is limited, but my life can have an eternal impact. So don't waste your life drifting. Don't live like this is all that there is. Don't keep putting off the things that you know truly matter. It's time to lift your eyes. It's time to surrender your time and let God establish your life. So here's the question that Psalms leaves us with. What are you doing with the life that you've been given? See, there will be a moment when your days are no longer in front of you, when your days are behind you. And in that moment, you're not going to wish you had more stuff. You're not going to wish you had more success. You're not going to wish you had more money or bought that stock or this other thing. You're not going to wish you had more recognition. You're going to wish that your life counted for something. You're going to wish that you gave more generously. You're going to wish that you served more. You're going to wish that you loved more. You're going to wish that you helped more. You're going to wish that you followed God closer. See, here's the good news. You don't have to wonder if your life will matter. You don't have to guess if you're wasting it or not, because God tells us how to live a life that counts. And it's not by chasing everything. It's by living a generous life. It's by living a grateful life. It's by living a life that is anchored to God, Jesus Christ, the King of all kings. And when your life is surrendered to an eternal God, even small moments become significant. A quiet prayer matters. A faithful decision matters. A step of obedience matters. And nothing is wasted. Nothing is overlooked. Nothing is insignificant. See, Moses doesn't end by asking for more time. He ends by asking God, will you establish what I do with the time that I have? Let me be successful. Let my life be honoring to you. Let me make a difference. In other words, he's saying, make it count. And maybe the most powerful prayer that you could pray today isn't, God, give me more time, but maybe it's, God, make my life matter. Take what I have left, the little or the lot that I have left, and do something eternal with it. Do something meaningful with it. See, you're not here by accident. You are not too late. You are not too far gone, and you are not out of time, because the same God who holds eternity in his hand is holding your life. And if you trust him with it, he can take what feels small. He can take what feels broken. He can take what feels insignificant. He can take what feels unfinished, and he can turn it into something that echoes into eternity. So don't drift and don't delay and don't assume that you have forever, but also don't live in fear, because the same God who holds eternity, he measures your days, and is the same God who directs your steps, redeems your path, and establishes your life. Let's pray. God, we come to you now. And we thank you for the days that you have given us. And we thank you for the days that you are yet to provide. Lord, let us use them for your glory. Let us number our days so that we can make a difference for you. Let us live with eternity in mind, not just this moment. Not just looking to gratify ourselves in this moment, but looking to glorify you. Maybe you're here today And up until this point, you feel like your life has not mattered for much. God loves you. God loves you so much that he sent his son Jesus to die for you, to remove that sin so you could have a relationship with God. And if you believe that, he's inviting you to call on his name. If you believe that God raised Jesus from the dead, won't you call on his name and say, Jesus, you are my Lord? God, we thank you for giving us these moments, for giving us these minutes, these days, these hours, these years. Let us do something for your glory and your honor that echoes into eternity. Let us live a life of significance. Let us not live for ourselves and our own selfish pleasures, but let us live for you, for your kingdom, for your glory, and for your honor. And we thank you that you are God. You are eternal. Before the mountains were created, you were there. And when time ends, you will still be there. And we put our faith and trust in you, the rock, the immovable one. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand together.